What's going on, my fellow gamers? As it turns out, there's a lot of chit chat going on about the Alliance Aid missions. Is it a grind? Is it soloable? And of course, I've been kind of throwing in some videos and some streams about what I've been having an opportunity to do with the OC2. So I thought I would just kind of complement everything that has been already said and just kind of add to it so you all can get a little bit of an idea on how I've been approaching it. And let's get to it. So right now I am in New Babbage. I just got back from Ruin and Pyro, picked up 36 of the 8 SCU of the pressurized ice for the container resource missions. Now the pressurized ice is not really a new thing. A lot of people have been jumping on this one, and a lot of people are already done with the entirety of this whole thing. So I thought I would just kind of showcase a little bit of where I am currently. So last night's stream, which was Saturday night, it was showcasing the C2 doing a lot of the different missions. I did an escort mission, we did some cargo recovery, and we did one of the security aid missions where you got to see me do the C2 doing some, for lack of a better word, ship-to-ship fighting, which was rather comical because, of course, the C2 is not what you would generally take out to go do some of the defense stuff. But an opportunity to kind of do that. Didn't really do any specific cargo hauling because that was a stream that I had uploaded to YouTube where it was the doing a triple haul to Levski. So tonight, and also Saturday night stream, I went over to Ruin, picked up a couple of the pressurized ice, brought those back because I wanted to see exactly where the point spread was. And then I'd mentioned that I was going to come back tonight, grab up the rest of them, and just finish this entire thing out as we're kind of going through this. So, and just as a refresher, one of the things that's interesting about the contracts is kind of split between, are you focused on points or are you focused on rolling in some of that walking around credits? And that's really the only thing that kind of separates this one from the resource drive. And I'm sure we're all having anxiety still from that little fun and adventurous thing that was going on. The one thing that I haven't had a problem with is freight elevator issues or docking issues or anything like that. I did lose an entire cargo full of stuff originally, but that was a completely different, separate kind of situation, and it is what it is. But what I'm doing right now, and again, this is nothing new. When it comes to the contracts, since I'd already done some of the container stuff, what I do have available right now is I could do some of the larger ones. So you've got and this is all the stuff that will pop up regardless of whether you've started the resources or not. If you do a couple, all these options come in as soon as you just do a few of it. So the one that I had completed yesterday, I did two of them. I did two of the single 8 SCUs, and then I did, let's see, not that one, this one. So I did the 60 SCU for 582K. Now the interesting thing was, and this is where everybody's kind of been talking about this already, if you do the single 8 SCU container missions, that will garner you 305 points. And if you do the entirety of the 60 SCU, that only gets you 400. So that is where you're really splitting it between, do you want the points or do you want some of that cheddar, if that's still a popular word that's used. Any case, as I do this is just going to be going back and forth. So you guys, what I'm going to do is timestamp everything to kind of fast forward stuff a little bit so you can just kind of scrub through this whole thing, because all it's going to be is me coming down, confirming the drop, getting the credit, and then working the point spread up. The reason why I got 36 containers is I want to see, because I think the missions let you do this, but I'm not 100% sure. Even once you hit your 10,000, if you keep doing the same missions, it'll still add for the main one, which is 30,000. So I thought if that's the case, then what I'll be able to do is I'll just go back to Ruin, pick up another 40 some odd containers, bring them back, and then finish out before I go back to hauling or the defense. So we just come back down here. Need to pay closer attention. There we go. ASCU. Accept offer. And of course I forgot to bring up my hangar doors. Who's the noob? I don't have my earbuds or headphones or anything right now because I already know what everything sounds like. So this is just kind of a, got everything hooked up. I went and picked up the shipment ahead of time and got back, and then I hooked up the camera and the mic and just said, okay, let me go ahead and jump in on here and do all this. Now the other thing that a lot of you have probably already picked up on, and this would be great to reinforce in the comment section, is doing the smaller ones not only gets you the point spread, but it also will, overall, it will increase what you would make on your SCU. So I've got 36 of the 8 SCU containers, and I'll be doing that at 73,000 a pop. And that's going to garner me back what I paid on this initial shipment up at Ruin, which I think when I got all 36 of these, it was 400 something. This is what happens when you don't actually hear what's going on. You forget to do all the checklist procedural stuff. But that's okay. No fancy edits to make it seem like I fixed all of it. So really to kind of reinforce a lot of what, and one of the coolest videos I saw, because there's a lot, is a channel that I watch on a regular basis. And the channel's name, it's, I'm not going to probably say it right, but it's CPT_FOX. YLOXY, Foxy Locks or something like that. He did one on talking about soloing and how he approached doing the resource, and he had his RSI Hermes. And I've noticed that the Hermes is getting a lot of love and attention across the board with various individuals who are some of the hard chargers when it comes to the game and creating the videos that they do for everybody to watch. So I'm a C2 guy. This was the first ship that I got after started to play the game. My starter ship was the Sulin, and then I just started working those cargo hauls and saved up, and then got the C2 and been doing this ever since. And I got a few other ones, but in any case, not to get too sidetracked, just kind of reinforce. I've been solo playing Star Citizen since I kind of jumped on this, which was June of 2024. But pretty much any game I've ever played has been sort of a solo op. It's really not about the grind, speed, right? We're not playing Call of Duty trying to hit max prestige on a 48-hour live stream kind of thing. This is meant to kind of go at your pace, time and attention that you want to put in on it, to where you can kind of focus, okay, do I want to do the defense? Do I want to do resource? And how do I do that? And the ships that you have and how to really maximize that. And really everybody's been pretty Johnny on the spot by just suggesting, hey, just do the smaller runs and you'll actually get a better point or points for it. And to kind of illustrate the point, when I drop this one down here, and actually I haven't had any bugs tonight, which has been kind of interesting. So let's see, did I, uh-oh, about to crash on me. Yep. Now if this does, I'm not going to edit this out. And I was wondering if I was going to lose the, or what would be the catalyst to possibly losing the entire thing. All right. Let's see here. Let's see if I lost every. Well, let's see if that happened. Then I shouldn't. That means I'll probably res up in. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm not really sure. It's been a while since the actual game is completely crashed on me. Normally, what would happen, of course, is you have to. Because this happened during the resource drive quite a bit, so I'd lose the entire shipment, and I have to go back and get it all over again. And in this case, if I lose all of that, that means I lost what I paid for it, of course. So I have to go back, get some more, and then I'm down whatever. So let's see what happens. I'm kind of curious. Oh, no way. I did not expect that. Let's see what I'm missing here. Okay, nothing. All right, let's try this again. Well, that was amazing. Well, I'm definitely not gonna, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna edit that. I'll just keep it all live. And I'll just timestamp everything. So it can be like, okay, this will be this is where it stopped, crashed, this is where I log back in, everything worked, we get back at it and all that stuff. So, my goodness. Okay. Just track, make sure this actually, right on. Okay. All right, now when it comes to cargo hauling, if you want to, and again, some of you already know this, so just throw in the comments, kind of say, hey, kind of like your approach of how you, what you found to be kind of like a smoother run, especially even if you have some of the smaller ships, because even then I did some of the 8 SCU and the C2 just because I just felt like really maximizing hauling that thing around. All right, let's get down to the cargo stuff. So the difference between, so the 4 SCU cargo container is a 256 SCU. Hopefully this isn't 8. This is 8.1 Microtech, 8 SCU. Okay. Now, if you do both of these, the 4 SCU container at 256 is going to get you more points than doing the 8 at 296. And specifically, when I did the 4, and this is when I did the triple haul over to Levski, the 4 SCU gave me the 300, and the, or no, maybe that was 4, but the 4 gave me more. I did the, yep, the 4 SCU was more, and this one was just a touch under it. I did this, oh, not that one, 257. So I did the 616, and that only gave me 285 points. So now we're kind of back again to, and even the smaller ones like the 6 and 8 SCU, and some of you may have different, depending on when you're doing it or if you're doing the PTU, gives you about 100. So really the jump between a 6 or 8 SCU and then the 256 is going to get you, it's about a 200 point difference. And then you can kind of calculate how long it would take you to load, and then of course travel to, you know, X destination and all that. I think really it's a time factor why the 4 SCU gives you more points, just because clearly you have twice as much as the 8, and then, you know, all that wonderful jazz and how would you fit it and stack it and all that. But so when I go back to finishing the contract stuff, I'm pretty much just going to grab, I'm going to stay local in Stanton and just grab the smaller stuff and grab like 2 or 3 of the smaller ones and then go to a destination, do my drop off, because it'll just be a lot faster. And then when it comes to the defense stuff, I'm going to be taking out my Guardian MX and just kind of having some fun getting some of those knocked out as well. I did record footage of me dogging it out in the C2, so that'll be kind of interesting to watch. A little cumbersome, but it worked. I mean, that C2 when you got full shields can take a beating. And I need to find the one where I was going up against a couple FHC Lightnings, but it is AI. I get it. Right, so it's not, you get a couple high speeds and they're just, Johnny on the spot with their controls. I'm sure they could put down a lot more damage. But in any case, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. I'd say just get out there, get after it. Don't worry about trying to grind it out. I think this is going on for another 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks. So there's plenty of time. It's not really, I mean, it depends on what the gear is that you're looking to get. And that's really about it. I'm just going to finish this up. Oh, one of the things, if y'all been using the Hermes, the RSI Hermes, how, what's your experience been with it so far? Actually, I know what I'm going to do. Kind of speed this up just a little bit here for myself. Actually, if I remember too, oh, that's right, can't go too far forward, otherwise it'll act like the door is blocked, kind of like during the resource drive. Actually, no, wait a minute. I know what I can do. Yep, some of you are probably seething, foaming at the mouth, like, why isn't this dude just dropping the whole thing and then bringing them up one at a time and getting the contract, dropping it right back down, saving a whole trip up the ramp and down again? I was just making sure all of you knew what was going on. I was just testing y'all just to make sure, making sure everybody was where they needed to be. My goodness. It's funny how everybody equates the Alliance aid missions with the resource drive. It's like the resource drive is going to be hard for a lot of us to actually ever forget. That was absolutely insane. What I ended up doing is on Microtech, there was one of the platforms or one of the offsites that you could go to. Now this one, and I don't remember the name of it. I have it written down somewhere from that long ago. But so you had the two separate platforms, right? So you had the one platform that had the dual elevator, and then you had the smaller single platform with the elevator. And this one platform with the single worked every single time. The problem was I had to break up one large hall into 3 separate lifts and then load that up. But what I would do is cancel the contract out and then get another one and then do the exact same thing again. So I would end up having to basically do that 9 times. Load this thing to the gills and then went back to New Babbage here to drop everything off again. So that's how I was able to finish it out relatively quickly. It took me about a week and a half to actually finish up the drive itself. I started with Hurston and then I just went to the other systems and so case in point, for Crusader, I would still go out to the Microtech satellite site with that small platform and do that and then fly where I needed to, and just didn't feel like taking any chances. And this is before I was recording or anything like that, so that was just one of those things. But ended up having the ship got hijacked, which was an interesting experience, and lost a couple shipments with all the goings on and all that stuff. So, and this is something that a lot of people do mention in the comments, that the cargo haul does go a little bit slower. And you know what? Yeah, it is a little bit more of a slower pace, but it's also pretty smooth and streamlined. Because once you know exactly what you want to do, you know your ship's capability, how much you can actually fit in the cargo bay. It's just kind of getting out to your location, getting the stuff, and then getting back again. Oh, and the other thing with the resource drive, who remembers when you couldn't double stack your elevator? You just had to lay down that one layer and then send that down, and then, oh man, that was something. But it was worth it, so got it done, not a big deal. Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. One of the things that would be cool is whatever ship you've been using, drop it down in the comments. Just kind of say, hey, I've been using this ship for these missions, worked out really smooth, just so, because a lot of it, when it comes to the different YouTube channels, a lot of it tends to get a little compartmentalized, where it's the new ship of the week and everybody's only talking about that one, right? Like, remember the resource drive, the Argo raft? The raft was like the least thing on anybody's mind, and all of a sudden the resource drive hit and the raft became like the coolest thing since a PB&J sandwich. And now it's sort of still talked about, like, now we're seeing the videos, is it still relevant? Well, of course it is. It's a cargo ship. I mean, why wouldn't it be? You know? But if you've been using the Caterpillar, if you've been using the raft, if you've been using the Hermes, you know, what's been your favorite go-to? Defense missions. What's been your cup of tea? My only reasoning for getting the C2 specifically is because I wanted something that would be able to carry other vehicles in, whether it's the smaller ships or, of course, or some of the other land vehicles. For instance, one of the things that I was doing at the time, and this was before my transplant. Um, so I would load the mining vehicle in here, go do bunker runs, and then do some mining while you're at the bunkers, right? So you're doing your security aid bunker runs, but you can't approach those unless you actually have the physical mission. And then one of the things that I started paying attention to was the fact that there was mining goods there. So then I started to bring the C2, brought the mining cart. Get out of this thing here. And was doing mining while I was doing bunker runs. And now that the salvation's out and the salvation fits in this thing, nice. Now I can put the mining vehicle and the salvation both in the cargo hold, go out and do bunker runs, and then do some salvaging while I'm doing mining and bunker runs and all that good stuff. All right, time to rinse and repeat. You know, my heart started to skip a couple beats when that starts to happen. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, and what potential issues does everybody run into? That's another thing I'm just kind of curious about. Anyone having any freight elevator problems, or if they're out at the TTDs, any load issues? Now I know there's off sites that you can go to, especially for like the Laranite and the what was the other one? The Bores. But I didn't want to take a chance on being out at one of the platforms, so I actually just went out to Ruin specifically to go get the pressurized ice, because I could get that all in one sitting and then fly all the way back, and then I'm good to go. And now it's just everything's here and problem solved. By the way, if anyone's having some issues with inventory out at Ruin, one of the things that I did notice is from yesterday to today, both times I went to the terminal, it said very low inventory, of course, but the number was the same. Like last night when I showed up, it was 211 SCU was available, and then tonight it was the exact same thing. It just happened to be the exact same number at 211 SCU. So my guess is that's kind of like what that max is for that particular thing for that station. If it's more, if one of you had like a better experience where you've had like a bigger chunk of SCU there, drop a comment below. Kind of like let everybody else know, hey, it's this, that, and the other. Where I'm going with this is, so I bought up the whole thing originally. It was 26. So I was able to get 26 containers. And then that dropped it down, so there was 3 left after that one. I only had to wait 10 minutes, and it bumped all the way back up to at least 196. And then I grabbed another 10 more and then loaded that up and then headed back here to New Babbage. So really the experience out in Ruin wasn't any really longer than it needed to be. Looking at technically being at Microtech to the gateway to Ruin and back, round trip about 40 minutes, only because that little bit in between where I was waiting for the stock to kind of pick back up again, and that's it. So other than that, it's not that big of a wait. You don't really burn that much time. And in comparison, when I did my triple haul to Levski. So I started in Lorville. Make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself here. So I started in Lorville, loaded up a 256, went up to Everest Harbor, picked up a 176, and then I went out to Microtech here and picked up another 256, and then took all that out to Levski. It took me 2 hours total to get those 3 large hauls in the C2. And the only reason it took that long is because I spent more time really packing in the shipments to really maximize the amount of space. And there was actually more space left over. And then really, going out to Levski, getting there, job unloading everything took at least a half hour, 25 minutes, I think. Pretty much already have an idea how long it takes to load and unload and all that stuff when you do this long enough, and you kind of know the rhythm. And that garnered me, that one trip, which technically was about 3 hours, was $13.35. And here we're going to spend, well, it's going to take me longer because I'm just chatting it up and trying to do different stuff. But anyway, it's going to take a third of the amount of time, but I'm going to finish this entire thing out, plus probably add more points to the main deal there. What am I trying to say? The total. Because once I'm done here, if the extra fills this up, yeah, I'm just going to take another trip out to Ruin, grab whatever I need, and just drop it down. Be able to make a little bit more money on the deal that I'm making on this one, and then just top that off, and then top off transport, and then we'll save defense for last. I think what I might do also is take the C2 back out and get into get a little scuffle with one of the larger ship aid missions where I got to take on a couple F8C Lightnings, just to show what kind of a punch that the C2 can actually take when you got full shields up and you're good to go. And it's just using the regular cannons. I haven't put anything else on there yet. Like I want to put the size 5 attritions on there just to see what kind of a difference that might make. But no, I don't use the C2 primarily for ship combat. But I do have a great shot of going head to head with a ship, and it's just like you can see the shield just getting obliterated with the oncoming fire, and I'm just returning fire, and all of a sudden the ship just, all that cool animation stuff. And referencing the defense missions too is kind of the same thing. So with the Guardian, what I did is I did one small one, and I did a low risk versus a moderate risk mission, and the difference was 105 versus, it was 200 something. And again, when you think about if you have a decent ship that's got a little punch to it, you can knock out a lower moderate risk mission in less than 5 minutes max, and then you just go right to the next one. So you can really hammer out a decent amount of points in a rather rapid amount of time. And usually the way I equate it, and this is not a new thing, but I usually calculate what can I do in about 1 hour. If we're talking points versus a cash buildup. And this armor I actually grabbed off of one of the ship missions where you go out to one of the mining stations and you just have to neutralize all the ships. It's not an escort or it's not a cargo thing. It's just neutralize everybody. And the last ship, which had the individual in it, he came popping out. So I grabbed him and took the armor and figured why not just add that to the collection. And just as a side note too, if anybody even watches this and you want to throw some comments down there, you got some questions about just kind of like my takeaway on various aspects of the game, I respond to the comments, so you know, feel free. I mean, personally, I've been having, keep doing this like the thing's not there because you never know. Anyway, I've been having a great time with the game. When I started, again, I started playing June of 2024. I was still up to my eyeballs with oral chemo, and that was just a few months right before my transplant in October, so I'm a little hazy on all the specific stuff. But I jumped on right when the, I think it was the time the IAE then was over with. So when I started with the Sulin and started doing cargo hauling, just as a way to kind of get warmed up to the game, get warmed up to game parameters, and kind of a getting used to doing the like procedural stuff with the ships and all that. And then looking through all the different aspects of the ships, and that was from the Star Citizen website, saying, okay, where do I want to focus my attention? What do I want to kind of dive into as far as like the next phase for doing the ship stuff? And that's where I thought about the C2 versus getting, am I going to get a fighter or am I going to get a like a bigger like cargo style hauler ship? And this is where I did more so on the line of looking at the Star Citizen YouTube channel itself, because there is a crazy amount of information. And I am one of those individuals that likes to watch, like when they do their updates and they're talking, like the engineers and devs are talking for like an hour, I'll watch the whole thing just because I'm interested to see what they have to say. But there's a lot of different aspects to the game that you get specifically from the Star Citizen YouTube channel that you don't really get when you get outside the confines of that little ecosystem. And then you can break down. So then how I started to break down my approach to where I wanted to take my gameplay is where you've got your hard chargers, right? Who's everybody that's got their fingers on the pulse of the game itself, which is really any title. You name a title, you punch it in, you're gonna have like all your, you know, your go-tos for that particular thing. And this is something I did mention on the stream I did where I did the triple haul to Levski. But a lot of the channels where I kind of helped formulate where I was going with the game, and again, no particular order, but you've got, and again, all you guys already know these names, right? So you got Space Tomato Gaming, you got Salty Mike, you've got Fried Chicken, you've got SC Haulers, who specifically I use for the mining stuff, because when I started to focus my attention to mining, that channel really, you know, approached that entire thing. You've also got Enterprise, specifically that channel, that dude, I was able to, he had a great quick tutorial on how to, what am I trying to say? The settings for, like, if you have a HOTAS or whatever the other one is, because I got my throttle and handbrake, and where to go into your files to save that particular file, so that when the patch resets and all your settings reset, you just go back and dump that back into the folder, and then your settings are back where they need to be. All right, so and then there's a lot. There's like, I think, what is it? Board Gamer. I think there's Alpha Gamer. He had a great video series on, like, basic flight fundamentals. It was like, like the basics of, and it equates to my time in protective operations and weapons handling and all that stuff, right? And then you got the one dude I just talked about, the CPT underscore Boxy Loxy, whatever that name is. If I'm saying it wrong, totally apologize. It's not my intent. But anyways, so when you think about how all these individuals, throw in their 2 cents on Star Citizen, and then it kind of helps formulate, okay, where do other individuals focus their attention, and then how am I going to equate that to my gameplay based on, what parameters are already there. So those are like my go-tos. And each one has their own flavor when it comes to Star Citizen, which is kind of cool. I'll just say this, man. I do not know how some of these cats stream as long as they do. I mean, some of my streams are 4 or 5, but somehow the momentum gets going and it's fun. But I'm already exhausted enough being post-transplant and the medications I have to take, like my anti-rejection and my immunosuppressant medication and all that twice a day. And it's just, I'm already wore out all the time. But yeah, hats off to these cats that can just get on there and get after it. Like, for instance, when so when Star Citizen did that, they did the Twitch drop a few months ago, I think it was, where you could get the armor and you had to do the 4 hours. So that's where I jumped on Salty Mike's channel for that. I mean, I broke up the time. It's about an hour a day, but I mean, that dude, it's like one of those things where you can always rely on that dude to be on, up and running, whether it's Twitch drops or just kind of like getting a longevity view on play style. That's not taken away from anybody else. It's just that for that particular instance, that's where the advantage of individuals that are doing the partner stuff, and the so what I'm looking for here, the reliability and consistency of how some people really dive into this stuff. Some of these cats that do the separate ship videos, and I can't think of the names off the top of my head. Those are pretty insane. You can tell a lot of work got put into that, the way they do the camera angles and the views and all that stuff, and doing the paints, and so lots of good information out there. In fact, there's no shortage of information, I should say, is where one of the advantages to particular games. But then you typically got all, like, a lot of the usual stuff. The game is broken, the game is this, the game is that. You just got some individuals out there where it seems like that's the only video that they can put out it's not anybody that I'm talking about, but just in general, we've all seen it. It's like, it seems like since I started playing, the game is this and that. I already know the game's got bugs. We don't have to really spend a lot of time. When I started playing, that's when Area 18 was eating ships like nuts. I couldn't go anywhere without one of the hangars eating my ships, man. That was getting a little frustrating, but worked past it. Trying to think, there's a few of them. There was another one that just had a lot of good generalized information. And that's the advantage too, to having multiple individuals that just have their the only way I can describe it is they have their finger on the pulse of the game, and bug out on me now. Let's see what happened there. So I feel like now at least I know the stuff in here is safe once it's in here, which I probably should have done that when I first got here, just in case. But hey, when it comes to soloing in the verse, one of the nice things I always like to be reminded of, if we think about back in the day when Snoop Dogg reminded all of us back in 1992, if you can't swim, you bound to drown. Of course, I can just hear the clickety-clack of keyboards as all of you are like, I have no idea what he's talking about. When did that happen? And some of you are going to rewind the clock a little bit and be like, huh. And some of you probably know exactly what I'm referencing. Oh, that 92, 93 era when that album dropped. Whew, man. Where are we sitting at now? 48 minutes. So what I'm going to do, again, is I'm not going to chop this up into like a separate highlight reel. It's just going to go on there. I'm just going to upload it, and but I am going to include timestamps so you can scrub as much or as little as you want. Of course, 48 minutes in, and I'm talking about that sort of again, like, oh, okay. But that'll be in the description box. That's just kind of like my my go-to. That's going to be my go-to method. I was thinking about cutting together some footage from Battlefield. Some of those, like, we all have those like greatest hits. Like it's like sometimes it's those engagements. It's like that's definitely something for a highlight reel. So I'll probably put one of those together. Oh, now I want to remember what I wanted to ask. If anybody knows, is what's going on with Area 18 and New Deal? I've tried to. Let me back up. I lost my C8X Pisces 2 patches ago, and I've tried to go to New Deal at Area 18 to get another one, and for some reason it's been insanely bugged out. I've always had, put it this way, I've had to backspace out of that place just to kind of reset. Does anybody know, is it fixed? When I was streaming the Triple Hadah, an individual had suggested that I jump on the, if I remember correctly, the Aussie server. In any case, I'm just kind of curious to know what's the status there with New Deal. I was able to actually make it down there once, but New Deal was shut. Anyway, because the short of it is I'm trying to pick up another C8X Pisces. Thought I had one on there. I guess not. I think something's up here. Come on, man. All right. Actually, you know what? I figured something was up. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So I've got 11 left. That's another thing I want everybody to see in real time. Some of the interesting challenges that we all face doing this. So this is going to be like the thing now where, let me lower back down, make sure I still have 11. If not, then this thing's eating all my containers. Let's see here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep, it's eating my actually eating my containers. Let me just make sure again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep. I think that's what 8. Oh wow! If that's the case, it ate like 4 or 5 of them already. Okay. Okay. All right, let's get these off the platform. Oh, that's always a fun one. Oh, come on. Can't help but laugh. Another reason I don't feel like chopping this up into like a quick little, and I just feel like putting the timestamps in and just putting all the descriptions down there. We've all felt this pain. We have all felt it. We can all empathize how it is rolling in the verse. Oh, right on. Red and Go Livery. All right. One of the things I will be doing is getting one of the big medical ships. I miss, and one of y'all probably have better knowledge because I haven't really heard anything yet. But are they gonna be putting the medical missions or the back into the game, right? And I can only remember back to 2024 when I first started, where you could do the medical aid missions, where it was like the 50 grand one. Somebody throws out one of those beacons. I loved doing those. I would literally drop everything, jump in the Sulin, and head out and help somebody out, help recover them. And the fun ones is going on the satellite stations and kind of like you're fighting your way in, getting up to them, and just reminds me of being back overseas, kind of. So, but that's probably why I enjoyed them as a support element. But it'd be cool if those go back in, because I definitely want to get one of the medical ships, depending on how they expand the aid missions. Right now, I can see it being a really good thing for orgs. Anyway, if anybody knows, chop it down there, because I'm big on doing the aid missions. Okay, so we've got. All right, so we're technically done. All right, so we've got. I'm going to see if it adds to the 17, 17, 6, 5. All right, we'll do. So all I'm going to do is just bring one up, do the mission again, chop it back down, see if it just adds to this. And if that's the case, then I already know I can just top this whole thing off, and then I'll just go right to the transport stuff. All right, let's see what we got here. One thing at a time. How many do I got left? 2, 4, 6, 7. I think it does. Somebody had covered that. Just kind of if you got extra or you come across cargo down the road, just pick it up and then head on down and throw it in and get the credit for it. Yep, sure does. All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to top this off, and then I know where to. Let's see. See another. Sorry, I'm doing some math in my brain here. That's all right. It's not important. All right. Let's get back to it here. And we're going on, yeah, about an hour and 11 minutes or so. So, I mean, we pretty much, again, knocked that out in about an hour. for just a little over an hour. But I mean, the point is, we're able to finish out one of the actual components, you know, fairly quickly. Sorry, I'm running out of steam here. It's 1:09 a.m. here on the Eastern Standard. So, and I need to be in Tampa at 7 for blood labs. Got my blood lab follow up. Here we go. I'm just getting all these things off of here because I don't feel like. Just want to knock these last 5 out and then call it a night. right. Oh, that one. Whoops. Last one. All right, let's go ahead and check the final numbers, see where we're sitting here. Oops. All right, just under 20,000 for the total, and then we're sitting at, let's see, 40.8 million. So I'd made, I think it was 38.1, and we're at 40.8. So that was 2.7, somewhere around there. Anyway, so one of the other kind of benefits to doing this is you can build up your credit stash fairly quickly as well. We're doing all of this all in one shot, doing the individual runs, was about 2.8 total, against, it was about, I think just under 800,000, to get that whole thing and then bring it back. So I got about $1 million out of that. So what I'm probably going to do, once I finish out the transport missions, is when I come back to the contracts, this is where I'm going to jump on some of the bigger stuff, like grabbing, bringing back 200 SCU for a mill, because I already know it's going to run me, what it's going to cost, and then what I'm going to get from a profit margin. So I can easily go grab 200, bring it back, and then just keep doing those runs, kind of build the bank up a little bit. The only thing I purchased after the IAE, this last one that hit, was the Guardian MX. So I was trying to figure out where am I going to shift and focus gameplay. So I'm just going to build that back up again to maybe 45, 50, and then we'll see where we're at from there. So, and closing out about 1 hour and 24, minus, the talking and all that stuff. So not too bad of a night. So just kind of recap a few things again, just as a reminder that the alliance missions themselves, or these aid missions, are pretty much easy enough for anybody to do. Obviously ship size is going to determine how fast or how little you can do, whether it's the resource or the transport runs, right? The damage runs, when you're doing, like if you have a fighter, just a suggestion, stick to some of the low or moderate risk stuff. That way you can get those out quicker, and you'll be able to get your point accumulation and just some credit. That mainly for the points, right? Kind of like the same thing. And then how many per hour and all that stuff. And other than that, pretty much all the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. But just sort of like my 2 cents on a few things, how I kind of roll in the verse. Appreciate everybody's time and attention. And as always, I wish you all the greatest success in all of your gaming endeavors.